What's going on, everybody? Welcome back, Bond's Apartment. I always say that it's a special video, but this one actually is very special. So this one's a special video because, and not to start off on a low note, but my grandpa, my Nonno, recently passed away. He was 93 years old. He lived a great life. If you go back way in my video archives, I've got a video of he and I making Sunday pasta sauce together. All that aside, he left me a pretty special heirloom, and it is this Omega Constellation. He wore this all the time, quite frequently. I think he bought it in Italy, which is really cool. I believe this is an early 90s watch, 93. I think it's like a 34 millimeter, maybe 35. It is two-toned. It is silver, and I believe 14 or either 18 karat gold around the bezel here, and then kind of on the end of the links. There's endless stories about this watch in he and I. One, for example, he wanted me to have it resized, but my grandpa was like, mechanic, engineer, all wrapped in one, like to tinker, like to build things. So when I brought it to the Omega boutique a few years ago, the guy was literally like pounding a hammer to get these pins out of this watch. And then he came back out and was like, whose watch is this? I said, it's my grandpa's. And he's like, does he like to tinker with things? Because I guess there was pins in here from multiple different watches. So it just goes to show you, if something ever went wrong with it, he tried fixing it himself. So things like that, I was always helping him fix it or taking it to the boutiques for him. Most recently, it kind of stopped keeping the right time. So I actually worked with Rohan in LA at the boutique there in LA. I sent this to him, and then he was kind enough to send it out to Switzerland. Had a full service done, and now it looks and works fantastic. Seeing his face when this came back, finally, and it took a few months, which usually services do. You could tell he was like transported back to being in Italy in the early 90s and buying this watch, taking a look at it and how it just looked brand new. And he was skeptical about the entire service thing because he's also straight from Sicily, very blue collar, very just 93-year-old man. Don't need to say much more. So yeah, seeing his face, that was really cool. He left this to me. It's incredible. You know, obviously with the Bond connection with Omega, I have a few, and him having a couple himself and leaving one for me was just incredible. Another thing with my grandpa, I would help him weekly with computer stuff. So at 93, he was still like photoshopping, making videos, sending them to his relatives in Italy, all this different stuff, constantly keeping his mind sharp. But of course, sometimes it got a little frustrating for me because I'd be working and, you know, at 93, you're just bored. So he'd call me at any point in time, hoping that I would come over that second to fix his computer. Well, one of the times he called me and I was like, I'll come over tomorrow at 10 a.m. So I think it was like 10:30 the next day and I wasn't there yet. Mind you, I live a mile away. I lived a mile away from my grandpa. So he had called me and said basically that I was a pain in the ass for not being there on time, which is okay because that's how, you know, he talked. But when I got there, I was actually really irritated. I was like, you know, it's a Friday, I'm working. I told him I'd kind of go in between meetings and he's giving me shit for not being there on time. And I was kind of like ready to somewhat chew him out when I walked inside. But then the second I saw the guy, I was like, you can't even get mad at him. He's just the cutest little guy. But what was cool in that moment was we had already talked about this watch several times. Like at this point, I'd already helped him fix it a million times and talked about it a bunch of times. And I had a couple Omegas by this point. But he said something along the lines of, if you fix my computer, I'll give you one of my other Omegas. And I was like, wait a minute, you've had multiple Omegas this whole time? And I had no idea. So I fix his computer. We walk into his bedroom. He tells me to take the top drawer out of his chest, literally out of the chest, and set the drawer on the bed. And he had a 1950s Omega, gold. They call it fancy lugs because of the way the lugs look. I'll put a picture up here. But I didn't even know this guy had two Omegas, and he actually gave both of them to me. So this one's very special. It's sad that he won't get to see me wear it, but we worked on it and spent a lot of time together with this watch. So yeah, it's an incredible piece to have. I love him. I miss him. But hey, that's this. So other than that, if you don't recognize my surroundings, I'm in Florida at my brother and sister-in-law's place with my nieces who are going to make a special guest appearance in the video. Yeah, see? The somber video is no longer somber. My little sidekicks. But yeah, anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
Nonno made some great pasta.
Yeah, he did. What do you want to say?
Kind of the same thing. He just a good guy.
Good guy. Yeah.
Nice.
These would be what, great grandkids?
Mm-hmm. Great.
Great grandkids. Yep. We love you, Nonno. Thanks for watching. We're gonna go. Well, it's nighttime now, but it's like 85 degrees still, and it's not in Michigan. So we're gonna go back outside. Have a good time. Thank you guys for watching.